Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Now we have finally Paula with all the exciting projects she will be sharing with us from United Nations. And without further ado, I'm going to quickly give you the word, and anyone at this point should be able to see my screen.
Thank you, Anna, and thank you for the invitation to join this Data Science for Social Summit. It's a pleasure for me to be here to talk to you about the work of UN Global Pulse. You introduced myself already, but just to say, my name is Paula. I am now based in Portugal after 20 years of being based in the field, conducting work as humanitarian worker and development practitioner. So I'm especially happy to be in this event organized by Portugal academia. My academic background is on geography, not on data science, but for the last almost 6 years now, I've been working with data scientists, especially with my job as manager of Pulse Lab Kampala, one of the labs of the UN Global Pulse Network. The UN Global Pulse Network is an innovation initiative under the UN Secretary General Office. The network works for a future in which big data and artificial intelligence are used responsibly for the public good. The mission that we have is to accelerate the discovery and the adoption of data analytics for sustainable development and for humanitarian action. The Global Pulse Network is formed by a series of labs. There's one in New York, one in Jakarta, and one in Kampala. I'm going to talk to you about the experimental work we have been doing, conducting analysis of public voices of people with artificial intelligence to support the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. But let me first tell you about the 2030 Agenda. In 2015, all UN member states adopted this agenda that sets a plan, a 15-year plan to achieve sustainable development worldwide by 2030, ensuring that no one is left behind. The agenda includes 17 sustainable development goals and 169 targets that are a universal call to action to end poverty, protect the planet, and improve the lives for everyone, everywhere. To achieve this 2030 agenda and leave no one behind, all the voices need to be heard, and people's voices need to be at the center of policies. With artificial intelligence and data science, we can build tools so that we include everybody's voices, also those of vulnerable population groups, people living in remote areas, and groups that are excluded from societies. Now, the analysis of people's voices expressed on social media have been used for a while now to inform humanitarian action and sustainable development. According to UNESCO, the main social media platform that is used as a social media network in Africa and in many countries in different continents is radio. So in Global Pulse, we conducted work for the last 4 years, around 4 years, to tap into public discussions on radio shared in Uganda, because radio, as I was saying, is used by citizens in Uganda and in many other countries in Africa as a channel for citizens to voice opinions, share reports about incidents in communities, and to share about issues that affect their lives. Now, the anonymous millions of words that are spoken every day on public radio are a source of big data that can be used to improve people's life. Public radio discourse is of high quality value to inform social politics, mainly because it's unconstrained, is unfiltered by questions conducted by researchers. Opinions expressed on radio are not biased by questions that normally researchers ask to collect primary data, and they are not biased by fear of judgment by researchers. Public discourse is available to advance the 2030 agenda also because citizens share first-hand reports on incidents that are not recorded anywhere else. So with the aim to analyze this public radio content in Uganda, UN Global Pulse developed a prototype based on artificial intelligence, machine learning, neural networks, and deep learning methods. We can go back to the previous one, Anna, the previous slide. With this in-house built prototype, public radio content is streamed via IT equipment deployed in the field, and then is ingested in cloud servers and goes through a series of filters to allow content selection. The radio stream goes through a speech text-to-text module based on large vocabulary automatic speech recognition ASR code system. The system uses multilingual acoustic modeling. The module provides a full transcription of the audio content within the confines of a defined vocabulary. The ASR outputs, consisting of text transcripts, are then streamed into the next module in the prototype. Then the analyst conducting assessments can extract content with data mining techniques using queries defined with selected keywords and key phrases, for example, floods, refugees, or health. The extracted data is later assessed by analysts that select the relevant content. So the most interesting part, I'm sure, for most of the audience is this speech computing part of the prototype. That is a complex pipeline that goes through many filters to extract relevant content. We move to the next slide, Anna. Now, to ensure the protection of digital rights and the ethical use of the technology, the team also worked to develop protocols for the ethical use of the technology. We built this work guided by the data privacy and protection principles formulated by the Data Privacy Advisory Group, that is a worldwide group led by UN Global Pulse, and by the Risk, Harms, and Benefits Assessment tool that was produced by this group. If you want to know more about these principles, and if you want to know more about this tool, I invite you to go and check these results that is available online. These are very practical guidelines, and these are the UN principles on data privacy and protection. All the UN agencies are using this when dealing with big data, and also the risk assessment tool is available for use, and it's a very specific, good method to help you for any project to do an assessment on the ethical issues. So based on this work, the team developed two sets of protocols, so to say, for the use of this technology and the analysis of the results, of the analysis results. But first, two big blocks, as I'm saying. The technical architecture and components of the technology are only accessible to staff abiding contractual rules and regulations of the United Nations. And then the analysis results were anonymized and presented at a level of aggregation that protects the privacy of citizens behind the data. So with this tool that I presented you, based on AI technology, a large stream of unstructured public radio discourse is reduced into a structure-rich database. Why is this database so rich? We move to the next slide. This database is very rich, is very rich because of three main reasons. Because of the high volume, this data source surpasses any source of primary data in terms of volume compared to any type of data set that is compiled with the primary data collection method, so any survey or any method like that. We estimated when we did this work that around 20,000 people, 20 to 20,000 people speak daily on talk shows in Uganda, public talk shows on radio in Uganda. This data set is available for analysis in near real time It's not really real time, but almost. It takes some time for the data to move through the tool, of course, but it's almost real time. And then it's not filtered by the researcher, as I was saying. So it's unfiltered testimonies and reports. We move to the next slide. Global Pulse has used this technology and these methods to support different areas of work of the United Nations and partners in different countries. We supported in the area of refugee response. We conducted analysis to understand issues related to social cohesion during the influx of refugees into Uganda from South Sudan that started a few years back. We also supported a behavioral change campaign to end violence against women and girls in Uganda that is under the umbrella of the Spotlight Initiative. And now we are testing the use of this technology to support peace and security processes led by the UN. The most recent use of this technology, what we are doing right now, we are supporting the global response to the COVID-19 pandemic. The World Health Organization, through its offices in Africa, is developing an infodemic response alliance that is bringing together ministries of health, civil society, media, fact-checkers, and UN agencies to ensure early warning of misinformation related to COVID-19. UN Global Pulse is supporting this using this prototype, this tool, to analyze public radio content to identify things as rumors around vaccines, promotion of false cures, and discussion about the impacts of the pandemic in vulnerable population groups. So what we're doing right now is to support these global efforts, specifically on infodemics. So this was a very quick overview of the work we've done analyzing people's voices. I'm going to stop here because the most important, interesting part of the presentation is always questions and answers. So we'll stop here for questions. Over to you, Anna.
I'm back in the stage. Yeah, so first of all, thank you for sharing this very interesting project. And obviously, I think it's very interesting to see the realities between countries, what are the technologies or what are the needs in different countries. And for me, at least, it was very interesting to get to know more about this use case. One of the first questions that I had for you was related to if out of all the examples of use cases or out of all the examples of informations that are captured in the radio, do you have any example in mind that you could share so that people understand better what kind of information could be got through a radio that could be later utilized in as an insight? If you recall any example.
Yeah, for me, after many years now doing case studies to explore what you're saying, to explore how can this be most useful, okay? My personal conclusion is that in anything that involves behavioral change campaigns, okay? Again, why? Because people are expressing freely without fear of judgment, opinions. Behavioral change campaigns are really complicated. Behavioral change at the level of a society is really complicated and is one of the structural factors that determines the progress in human development and the sustainable development goals. So in Africa, in East Africa, at least where I was based for over 5 years, a lot of the work that is done for sustainable development, it's about behavioral change campaigns. For example, about HIV/AIDS, Uganda is one of the few countries in the world that still has levels of HIV/AIDS in which the infectious rates are increasing instead of decreasing, like in the rest of the world. You know, malaria, for example, is the main cause of death, and it's a lot about behavioral change, putting mosquito nets, avoiding mosquito time. So So there are many, many issues about behavioral change. Gender violence, for example, same, it's all about behavior, societal behavior. So I think the fact that with this radio analysis, you can extract all these real insights and real conversations of people about these things. You know, it really helps guiding the definition of better campaigns. So this is my personal opinion. And we see it now with the COVID-19. In the COVID-19, in parallel with the pandemic, there is what is being defined as an infodemic. And it's all about rumors, misinformation that at the end of the day are influencing behavior, individual behavior and societal behavior. So this type of technology can really support in better defining campaigns to address the real issues of people.
So, for example, starting with the example that you just gave, one thing that comes to my mind is, for example, you listening to the radio and someone saying after you apply some measure about COVID-19 or some related to how people can prevent diseases such as malaria, hearing the feedback from the population about why don't they follow the guidelines that were recommended by a government. And once you know why, and if people are resistant to actually taking that change, maybe you can adjust in the government or any other organization how you support that same population. So I'm able to, if this is a specific example, I'm able to understand how in practice it can be applied. Another point that you mentioned was related to the partnerships. You mentioned some partnerships external to United Nations, some that are with other United Nations organizations. How is a partnership formed for being able to create such a big project? Is it more internal based? Is it more external? How do these partnerships work high level?
My experience with data science and the UN system is that the partnership with academia has been critical for the success of the things we have done. Specifically in UN Global Pulse, we have partnership with many universities around the world, and normally it's mutually beneficial, you know, because normally a lot of academic institutions and departments have great teams of data scientists that want to do something for the social good and don't know what to do and how to do it. So basically, we've been the link with the users, so to say. You know, so Global Pulse, we will not be the users of the technology, but will facilitate the design of the technology because we are in contact with the user on the ground, so to say. So it's been very, very, very important. Also with private sector, Global Pulse specifically has some agreements, partnership agreements global with some private sector companies. For example, I can think of the company Datamir that has provided on a pro bono basis access to a product that is called First Alert, and that provides alerts on conflict situations in countries around the world. And thanks to this partnership, it has made these products available for free on a pro bono basis to the UN system. So partnership with private sector is very important, but I really think that in terms of the development of methods and tools, the partnership with academia has been very, very important. Yeah.
That actually, it's interesting because I've heard that trend throughout several players, how crucial, because we traditionally believe that these two elements are separated, but even through what you're explaining is more and more, I understand how crucial is this exactly link between academia, foundations, and organizations such as United Nations. Okay, so I have one last question, and this is related to reproducibility. So you create a project, either a machine learning algorithm or artificial intelligence, and so on. When this use case is replicated, how does it work? Is it United Nations that is the main player applying this use case to this science to other use cases? Is it something that is transferable to other organization? how does it, as per your experience, how has it worked? Is the United Nations always the main player leading the initiative even after it was implemented,
Yeah.
or do you have other?
In this case, UN Global Post is a very, very special thing inside the UN system. It's not the common way of working in the UN system, so it might be different. But normally, in Global Pulse by mandate, everything we do is with open source. So we build on the work on open source communities, and we put what we do available for others. There are some exceptions. In this case, the radio mining, as we call it, technology has been an exception because of the issues related with data privacy and protection and ethical use of the technology. So in that case, it's not open because of the sensitivities around the tool and the need to have these protocols to ensure data privacy and protection. But with other tools, we do use open source technology, and we put what we've done. There are quite some interesting things also. I invite you. There is a UN working group on big data for official statistics. They have a platform. They do have open tons of materials and things and code, etc., that National Bureau of Statistics around the world are using to tap into big data to generate official statistics. And the work is available in their platform. So there are initiatives about sharing the tools and the methods. Yeah.
Yes, this was a particularly important point because basically we see a lot of solutions being created, very diverse ones, and the goal is always to apply it to as many use cases that we can, in case the technology or the science behind allows us to do that. So it was a point that it was a must question from our side. All right, Paula, I wanted to thank you so much for you joining us. Sorry again for the initial hurdles in terms of joining the conference, but we hope to count on you with in a future opportunity. And we invite you to also continue to join in the event and watch the other talks.
Thank you so much for the invitation. Congratulations on the initiative. From Global Pulse, we have supported for several years now Data Science Africa. That is a similar initiative, and the network just keeps on growing. And what you said about the networking component is very, very important, and it really works. So really, congratulations on this, and I encourage you to continue.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Paula.